Hello, and welcome back to Diecast Graveyard. My name is Paul. Thanks for joining me today. What we have here is a custom Mustang. Now, this is one of the original Sweet 16 cars. This was sent to me by one of my subscribers, and he says, hey, Paul, make this original again, please, but I'd like you to change the color to red. And I says, well, it's already red. Well, you know what, he wants it all redone Spectre Flame. So we're going to take this apart and we're going to refresh this car and make it look as good as new or even better than new. So let's go ahead and get this project started. Please go ahead, grab your favorite adult beverage, and join me in today's build. This is going to be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to that. Let's get started. Here I've got the car. I've got the post already drilled out. So let's go ahead and take it apart. Yeah, these old kid painted cars, I really love taking these apart and redoing them and fixing them. The windshield in there is cracked. You can already see that. Body's definitely in rough shape. There's a lot of toning going on in there. The biggest thing we're going to have to do is get this paint stripped off. This is a US car because it's a nice solid body on the bottom. We'll put some new tires on it, and I'm not sure if I've got a new windshield for it or not, but I'll look for it. If not, we'll just get one later. So like I said, the body's in pretty rough shapes. At least the hood is not broken, so that's good to see. These posts are very small, so we're going to have to use a 1/16 inch drill bit in order to drill out these posts. Of course, we're going to have to take the file and flatten the post out. Try not to take off too much of the post. All you're doing here is flattening it up so it can fit back to the body nice and smooth and not have to snap it in place. This is looking good. This post was pretty rough. But this is a longer one of the posts, so we'll still have plenty left in order to drill it out to put that 1-72 screw in there. If you're doing original red lines, you'll want to use the 1-72 screws. Now, some people can use the 256 and make it work, but you know what? Oh wow, look at that paint coming off. Pretty thick buildup. Some people make the 2-56 screws work, but you're really taking a chance of blowing out that post by having to use the bigger drill bit to make room for that 2-56 screw. This is why I recommend the 1-72 screw when you're using it to take apart and put back together a old red line with a smaller post. We got small wheels in the front and we got medium wheels in the back. We're going to straighten up the axles and put some new meats on this car. We're going to polish up the base, cleaning off that old paint, and we'll touch everything back up. Again, the windshield is cracked. May have to get another one to put in there. But like I said, I'm not sure if I have one or not, but we'll order one. Or the person I send it back to will, he'll have one. Here's my container to put it into. I always try and put the cars that I'm working on in a container, and I'll label it with a piece of tape. This way here you always know where the parts are and you don't have to go searching for them. Now we're going to go ahead and put this car in the embalming fluid, or as some people call it, citrus strip. Knock off all the excess citrus strip, and I put it on a little tray or something so I can see it on my desk, and that way there, when I'm working on something else, I can glance over and see that the paint has bubbled up and is ready to be rinsed off. let's move on. I know the windshield is cracked. I sanded it down, and we're going to put it in the Pledge Revive. Now you can use Pledge Revive, you can use the Gauzy, which is a great product, or you can even repaint these things with the clear coat, and that'll make your windshield look good also. But in this case here, we're going to go ahead and use the Pledge Revive. We'll put the cover on that so it doesn't get any dust bunnies on there, and we'll let it sit the rest of the day, if not longer. Here's the body after I got it out of the embalming fluid, rinsed it off, and then I took some Scotch-Brite pads and I buffed it down to get rid of the toning as best as I could. Now we're going to use the flits in order to take off any more toning, and we're going to polish it up and make it look good. Now in the comments section, there is a code for 20% off of any Flits product. Now use that link in the comment section and then put the code word graveyard, and you'll save 20% off all Flits products on the website. But you got to use that link, and you have to use the code word graveyard. And this is an exclusive for people who follow Diecast Graveyard. Take your time. You don't have to run your Dremel at full speed. You don't want to burn the product, and you only want to use a little tiny bit. This tube that I have in front of you there, I've had that probably for a good 3 or 4 months, and it's still over 2/3 of the way full. So it lasts you a long time. Plus, if you really want to, you can polish glass with the Flits. Or the plastic, excuse me. Now, when you go to do the hood, make sure that you hold it down with your finger or thumb, because if that Dremel wheel catches that hood, it'll snap it back and it'll snap those pins off. Now, I've said this in several of my videos. It's just something to be careful of, folks. And you know that it is quite hard to get good replacement hoods for these cars. Now, some of them are made out of a lot softer metal. And again, if you just replace the hood and you're polishing it, you definitely want to be careful, because it will snap it. I've had it happen to me before. This car was in super rough shape, especially with all the toning underneath it and all the red kid-painted different colors of paint on there. There was bunches and bunches of layers of paint. But we got that citrus strip there, and it took it off. This is really starting to look nice. This is going to make a really good base for that Spectre Flame paint that I'm going to be using. Now, if you get a little bit of a rough spot and you need to use a little bit more Flits, put a little tiny dab on there and keep on polishing. These polishing bonnets that I'm using, I get those off of Amazon, and I have a marketplace page. Now what I have done is I've gone through and I've selected a whole bunch of products, and I've put them all in one location, and it's called my Amazon marketplace page. There's a link to it in the comments section. Now this will save you a whole bunch of time running around and searching and figuring out what you call the things and like that. But I'll get a bag of these, and there'll be about 100 of them in there. And I think they cost between like $15 and $18. And they last you quite a long time. Alright, that's looking pretty good. Let's get it to the sink. And we'll get it under the degreaser, and we'll scrub it down and get it ready for the paint booth. Let's go ahead and continue on with the rest of the build. Okay, here we got the base, and it's pretty tarnished. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take these abrasive wheels that's like a Scotch-Brite pad, and they are different different grits, different hardness, And you can start with a soft grit one or a hard grit one and then work your way to a soft grit one. And they work really well. Now again, I get a bag of these for $100 for about $15. And they last me quite a long time. Now one wheel usually lasts about one car. And the harder you push down on these things when you're using the Dremel, the quicker they will disappear because they do fall apart. All right, and make sure you're wearing your safety glasses because these things throw a lot of product into the air and it will fly into your eyes. So please be careful with that. Look how quick it's taking the tarnish off the car. Now, another tip here, you want to be careful around your wheels. If you get too close or press too hard with this Dremel with the abrasive pad on there, it'll grab a hold of that wheel and you could possibly rip and break that axle. So be careful when you're buffing around the wheels also. This is looking pretty awesome. Let's go ahead and move on to the next step. Now we're going to replace the wheels. The body's all polished up and it looks really nice. Here we're going to put 2 medium meats on the back. This replaces the original wheels that were on there. And we'll put 2 small meats in the front. Now I had a subscriber say, if I was doing this, I would have put some deep dish wheels on there. Now, deep dish wheels on these cars would really look good. But sometimes when you're doing these red lines, you want to make sure that you're restoring it to original condition. I got these wheels at the red line shop. Check out what John has to offer. And I'll have a website for you coming up here in just a few moments. But put those wheels on, put that red line wheel tool between the bearing and the axle and push it on with your thumb. And these look like the original wheels. And that's how I wanted to restore the car, and that's how the subscriber wanted the car restored. That's why sometimes I don't put deep dish wheels on there. Now we're going to do a little bit of touch up. I've already painted the black panel in the back. And now we're just going to touch up the tail lights. Now, if you happen to get a little bit of excess paint on there, you can use a toothpick or a little fine tip Q-tip with just a slight bit of paint thinner on there, and you can get this all fixed up. Sometimes you can take a razor knife and work that out. All right, we're ready to repaint this car. I wiped it down with lacquer thinner after everything was degreased. Now we're going to spray it with Spectre Flame Red. This is looking fantastic already. Now I put mist coats on there first. I'll let them dry about 15 minutes or at least start to set up, and then I'll come back in and I'll hit it with a few more saturation coats. But just please be careful so you don't put too much paint on so it will run. Now I got this Spectre Flame paint at the Redline shop. Check out what John has to offer at the Redline shop. He's got the world famous Spectre Flame paints. He's got replacement wheels for your Redline restorations. He's got original decals for any cars that require decals. So check out the Redline shop. Look how beautiful that paint turned out. And it's going to look like that when it hardens too. It's going to have that real bright shine. Now you polish the metal and the paint that you're putting on there is like a candy.
Meanwhile, back in the graveyard.
Here we have all of our parts. Here's the body all painted up. That looks absolutely stunning. Man, I love that Spectre Flame paint. Now there's other companies that have paints too. Second Chance Redlines has their Retro Flame paint, and Bright Vision has their Nitro Flame paint. Check them all out. They're all great products. This has all been cleaned up with brand new wheels. The interior looks fantastic. and I polished up the windshield as best I could. And here's what we started with. This kid-painted custom Mustang. I love doing cars like this, like I said, because I love bringing them back to original condition. We took the car apart, we did the autopsy, we figured out exactly what we needed to do. It needed to be painted, it needed new wheels, it needed to have the body polished, it needed the base polished. It still needs a new windshield, but I did the best I could with what I had, and the subscriber is going to replace the windshield when he gets it back to his house and I send it to him. But we did all those things, and check out the products that some of the folks that I tell you about here, because that's where you can get the items that you need in order to restore a red line. Now, if you got any questions, go ahead and ask me. I'll do the best I can to get back to you. And here's how it turned out. Except for the little crack in the windshield, this thing is absolutely gorgeous. That beautiful Spectre Flame paint. We detailed the tail lights, the back end. We detailed all that stuff out. Those, like I said, the brand new wheels on there. It looks absolutely perfect, folks, and I love how this turned out. Like I said, if you have any questions, get a hold of me. I do my best to try and answer a lot of questions, and sometimes I get bombarded with a bunch. Now, I get a lot of opinions from people. Hey, why didn't you do this? Hey, why didn't you do that? Sometimes it just depends on what kind of mood I'm in. But I do appreciate all the feedback, and you're welcome to leave it. And if I get a chance to answer you, I will. Thanks for joining me today in Diecast Graveyard. This was an extremely fun build, and we got a bunch more builds coming up here. Christmas is coming up. I'm actually on the road working, and that's where I'm editing this video from. Thanks for joining me today. Merry Christmas to your family, and cheers.